Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Um, Thank you for joining us. This is the CREF webinar for January for instructors. 10 minutes, 10 weeks, CREF tips for efficient benchmark applications. My name is Melissa Marscin. I am the Director of Operations and Impact for CREF. I know I recognize a lot of the names, and I'm very glad everyone is joining us today. Before we start, I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. We will keep everyone on mute just to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, that does not mean that we don't encourage questions. So we have Karsten from our team, and for those of you that haven't met Karsten, he is the newest CREF team member on our marketing team. So he is actually on this call as well. He'll be monitoring the question and answer chat and chat feature. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, I encourage you to write them down. And Karsten, please feel free to interrupt me, especially, if it's a pertinent question, because I don't want to, lose it or the person to forget or not to be in the right spot to be able to answer it right then and there. So Karsten's just going to be able to interject any questions. So as we go through this, just feel free to let me know if you need any additional information. I'm happy to provide that. For those of you that might not be able to attend the whole meeting or want to share this with somebody else on your team or in administration, we will be having this recorded as well. So we will share this out to everyone after the meeting so that you can share this with your fellow instructors and admin. So to get started, I know many of you are familiar with the benchmark program and the survey, but I just wanted to give an overview on the whole program itself. So the benchmark and application will open in January. It actually opened a few weeks ago. It will close in June, and it awards at SEMA in November. That is our traditional schedule. I did want to point out that there were some changes from 2025, and you probably have already noticed those already if you've started it or opened the email, but just wanted to point them out. In the past, what we've done is the survey has gone live in the fall of each year. So you come back to school in the fall and you completed your survey, and then come the spring, you had access to the benchmark application. So what we did to simplify the process and to condense it is we combine those all into one rolling application. So what happens now is rather than in the fall, every January you will get access to all of the survey, tool list, and benchmark at one time. So you log on, you will do the survey. Once you complete the survey, you'll get access to the tool list. Once you complete the tool list, you will then get access to the benchmark application. It's all in one login. It's all in one section. It all flows together. So the whole idea is to simplify the flow for the instructors and allow them to make it easier on you as you go through the process. We also condensed the time frame to complete. It was a long time, obviously, if the survey opens in August and you have until, the following June to complete it. That is a long time period. So we did condense that just to make it all in a tighter package. And hopefully that will make it a little easier on the reporting side. You can get all the things done at one time. And then we did work to shorten the benchmark application. So we went through it as a team, looked at both the survey actually and the benchmark, went over each question to ensure that it was important to CREF and important to the industry, because what we don't want to do is we want to avoid having extra information that is not useful, because we know your time is very valuable and very limited. So we want to make sure we get all the information that we need, but we don't want to do extras. So we were able to condense the benchmark application, and we'll go through it, and hopefully you see that it is shorter and easier, and I definitely hope it encourages everyone to apply this year. The first thing I wanted to direct you on, if you haven't been there yet, is there's two sections on our homepage that I want to go into. And these are important because they do tie into what we're going to be talking about with the survey and the benchmark. But when you go to our homepage, there's two sections that are really related to you as schools. So the schools and awards section and the login section. So that first one, that first schools and awards section will bring you to this page. So this is a good resource page. Um, it's the link on the top there to complete the school survey. It really is to complete everything. So once you get into that link, it will do the survey. Once you complete that, it would bring you to the tool list. And once you bring that, it'll bring you to the benchmark application. So everything is now in that one link, which is hopefully a helpful resource. We definitely want you to look at those items on the left. You know, if you had any questions about eligibility or award categories, or if you wanted to see who won the 2025 awards, definitely wanted to point those out as well. The tier program, I know many of you are some of you are familiar and some of you are not. The tier program is lists different categories where you can be either a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 school. So you can definitely look at those. I did want to give you a heads up that we are going to be adjusting and changing the program. So when we get more information on that, we will definitely share it out to all of our instructors. In that second part, the login part, this is what you will see. So we have a portal login for instructors. We have one for students, one for admin. So this particular one that I'm showing is the instructor portal because this is probably the one that is most relevant to you. The portal, once you log in and you select that you are a collision instructor, you will get access to all of the items on the right-hand side. So you'll have different events. You'll have access to the school survey, crossword puzzle answers, which are on the other page, word search. So it just gives you some resources. I definitely recommend that you check this out, when you get some time. And it also, again, I brought you to this page as well, so you can see that you can gain access to the benchmark and school solution from this section as well. There is a Connect with Instructors page. I definitely recommend if you want to chat with other instructors. And communications, any communication that is sent from CREF, we are going to be housing in this one communication section. So if you miss an email or you're not sure, an email got blocked or whatnot, or you might have deleted it by accident, you can always go in and check the communications to see what information that you were missing.
Hey, Melissa, there's a
Yes.
question in the chat asking about information from last year's survey carrying over into this year.
Great question. So this year because we folded it all into one app when last year it was two separate entities, we were not able to carry it over. However, what we can do is we can actually, we have the ability to print your survey. And we can print all your answers so you can have all that information. So we are happy to do that for you so you can have your access to your answers. Going forward with this whole procedure now in one package, in one flow through application, the goal is that we'll be able to do that going forward. Okay, so to the application and school information itself. So when you first click the button to get into the actual survey, this is what you'll see. So you're going to want to hit the apply button, and it will bring you to the login page. Now, the login page, we have gotten some questions. They say, am I a new user? Do I already have an account? So if you did the survey last year, you do have a profile account already. And that is actually good because your profile will have saved from last year. So that is one thing that crosses over from year to year. So you will already have an account. So if you did it last year, I would log in with the same information. You can always do forget password if you have forgotten your password. Keep in mind that you might have had a superior, an administrator, somebody else helping you and doing the application or doing the survey. In that case, if they did it last year, they would have access as well. And if you have any specific situations or issues, feel free to reach out because I know there's sometimes a lot of little individual situations that need to be addressed. If you have not done the survey in the past, you definitely go to I'm a new user and you'll go and create your own organization profile. So on the right is a sample of what the organization profile looks like. We ask just questions about your school name and all that, and some we ask some social media things and who is your administrator, things like that, so we can have that on hand, for our database. Once you do your profile, you will get access to the survey. So this is what the survey looks like. You will have all these sections. Now, the good news about it is you don't have to go in order for the sections. So you can see it's all nice and broken out. So say you don't have the information for the enrollment right now in front of you. You can skip around and maybe go to the other questions or advisory committee. So you can skip around to the different sections of the survey, just depending on the information that you have or need. However, you can hit start on any of them and see what is required. That way, what you can even do is copy paste or take a screenshot. And if you need to go to somebody else in your school for the data, you will have that ability to do so. There is a cool feature I just want to point out. So on that top there, that little next to the survey, it looks like a little hat, upside down hat. This is a collaborator section. So say you have, you're doing this in conjunction with your school administrator because that person has all the data, or, business department or whatnot. You can add them as a collaborator to the application. So you could see you just hit that button on the bottom where it says add collaborator, and you can add other people. So they will also get access to this application. So they can help and be almost a co-partner in completing this for you. So, they might have information on your demographics that you don't have access to. So if they, don't provide them to you, or it's just easier for them to go in and do it, that is an option to offer to help with the situation. Or perhaps you have a co-instructor and you want to team on this project so you can both work on it at the same time. That would be one way. We just ask that you have one account per school, and not have different, if you have 3 different instructors in the program, that each one does not do their own, that there's just one per school. So some of these sections I just wanted to also point out, because you might be looking at this and say, it's a lot of sections. Just so you know, again, as I mentioned earlier, we did go through each section to determine the questions that were relevant to what we need. And you might be asking, well, what do you guys use this information for? Well, CREF has a annual snapshot survey that we put out for the schools, the school snapshot, and that is our way to track trends and to show different things that are going on in the educational space. It shows everything from, static things like how many schools are there in the country that offer collision, to show trends year over year. Just a side note, when I started here a little over 20 years ago, there was about 1,500 collision schools. We have it down now, unfortunately, to 890. So the survey is a good way for us to track those types of data. It's also good to know things about your budget. And budget would be, in this case, how much money the school gives you to run your program. So we can track those trends as well. And then we can showcase those through the snapshot to the industry. We can showcase them to donors. It helps CREF to have that piece of data to be able to take and get funding, so then we can turn around and help the schools out with what they need. So you guys tell us the issues, and we can see the trends and be able to help you better. So we do use it for the snapshot and for donor reach out and impact reports. So every piece of data on here is very important to us, and we really appreciate you taking the time to complete this.
Hey,
At the
Melissa.
end, yes, please.
There's a question in
Sure.
asking how collaborators gain access to complete their section, whether they use the username or password, or how else they access it.
Absolutely. So when you click on add collaborators, it will send them an email and say you've got to log in. I don't have a sample of it up, but it'll say you can log into the thing, and then they create their own username or their own password, and then they can log into it. So you can't give them access to a specific section. So you can't say, Bob, can you do budget? It'll show them the entirety that you're seeing on the screen right now. But you can always mention to them, hey, Bob, can you complete, the budget section or whatnot? But they will be able to gain access through the email. Okay, great question. At the end, we do have donation opportunities. So, like we offer every year, we are thankful to have Mitchell CCC and Auditex, three estimating software companies who donate their services at no charge for our schools. So you can answer those questions if you are interested. If you do already get it at no charge, we just ask that you still fill it out just to say that you are still interested, because then they are going to continue to give it to you at no charge. You can pick one, you could pick two, you could pick all three. There is no limit. So if you wanted to try all three, say you teach one, but you wanted to try the other two, this is your opportunity to do so. Again, it's at no charge. And you can mention that at the end with the donation opportunities. Okay, again, I just wanted to showcase what it's going to look like. So some of these sections, although it looks like a lot of sections, some of them are quite small. So for instance, this first one about program offerings and requirements, you tell us on what degree programs that you do offer to your program. And if you only offer one, it's going to be a really short section. So you could see all the sections are not too, some of them are not too intense. Obviously, things like demographics are slightly longer, but we tried to break it up so if you needed to do it in pieces, that it would be easier to go through and identify which piece you are able to work on or able to need help on. Okay, so you've done the survey, you've submitted the survey, and you have access to the audit of tools. So the audit of the tools in the program, this is like last year. Again, since we weren't able to transfer it, if you do need a copy of your tools from last year, we are happy to give that to you, so you can then put it into the system. These tools are actually part of, we partner with ICAR, and these tools are ones that they identify to be able to run their academy curriculum. So that's the tie-in with iCar as well, and the reason we got this particular set of tools. So this list of tools, it's about 200 tools. You can either say you have it, but outdated, or you need it. Now, in terms of what does outdated mean, we left it general because we know each area, each school, each situation is going to be different in terms of what outdated means. So we didn't want to put, it needs to be, within a year old or 5 years old, because again, each school is different with what they're determined to be outdated. So we left it open-ended, but you tell us, based on each tool, on which of those three options are best to represent each tool. Definitely recommend, a good tip would be for this tool list is to actually have your students either do it or help with it. It is a great opportunity for your students to learn perhaps some different tools that they didn't know that you had, or ones that you maybe don't have but you need and the students didn't even realize that they existed. Or a good project for students to just be able to interact and help with the application itself. So we are working to get a list of these tools on our website so you can download them and be able to do a checklist, so you can do that before you enter it into this particular application. But get your students involved. It is a good process, obviously, to find out if you have these tools, if you need them. It might also help to jolt you when you do the benchmark application to say, hey, I realized I don't have an eye wash station, or it's outdated or whatnot, and you might have some inspiration as to what you need for in your benchmark application. So this would be the next part of the process. So this one does take a little bit again, but hopefully it'll help you in multiple ways to help your students learn, to have you do a complete audit of what you have, and to help inspire you on what you might need going forward. Okay, the benchmark application, we're going to spend a majority of the time today on this. So I just wanted to show you what the overall sections looked like. So you can see we really condensed it this year. Most of the questions are now moved to the survey. So we have narrowed it down to just these sections. And I'm going to go through basically to show you that once you get to this stage, It is a lot less daunting than I think a lot of people realize. So I'm hoping that as we go through this and I show you how you can do it in just a few minutes a week, that it might not be as overwhelming and you would, be more likely to embark on doing the application. So we're in the first week of the application. Say you wanted to do it in your 10 weeks and you are in week 1. You have no idea where to start. So here are some recommendations for week 1. Again, these won't take very long. So the first thing I would recommend to do is to review the application that we just talked about actually. So you can go ahead and hit start on any of these sections. You can open them up, just look at what they need, and just to get an idea of what you're going to be looking for in the application. Definitely important on anything just to get an idea before you dive in. I would schedule an advisory committee meeting, and you might already have one on the schedule, but if you don't, I definitely recommend to schedule one. The reason is that you're gonna end up wanting their input. Might need their approval. It's important to get the advisory committee involved with this process so they are at least aware, if nothing else. So get that on the schedule. That's something you can do. Determine if any approvals are needed from the school or board or admin. I know there's some schools that can't apply for anything unless they go through a school board meeting. And typically, sometimes their school board meetings are held maybe once a month or, once every 2 weeks. But determine if any approvals are needed, because if they are, and you have to be at this board meeting, say, you'll want to get on their schedule and get on their radar so you are not held up. Because the worst thing that you can do is have it all ready to go and then get ready to hit the submit button and they tell you that you can't do it without school board approval. And that has happened in the past. So I definitely recommend to make it one of the first things that you do is to make sure. You might not need any specific approvals other than, a go ahead from your superior. That's fine too, but you'd rather have that information up front. If you have a development team at your school or, a grant team or someone like that, definitely reach out to them, a fundraising group. They probably do these applications all the time and can definitely help you. This is probably more on the college side. High school side might have it as well. Just to let you know, this application does not need to be done by a professional or a development team. It's not going to impact your ability to get a grant from this. It is just, use the resources around you if you do have them. So you can always approach them to see if there's any help. And of course, I definitely recommend, even if you don't need, approval, say from a board, is to notify your administration about this opportunity so they are aware of what you're doing, and you can head off any questions ahead of time. So you could see those are just a few things to do, should not take long. That is what I recommend to do, at the beginning for week 1. Week 2. So week 2, I would start by completing the first section, the collision program information. It is quite short. It will not take you very long. So you could see on the left, there's just a few questions. So tell us a little bit about that. And then I would also in week 2, reach out to your videography department or marketing team, or, you might have student clubs, anyone that might be able to help you with the video section. And this first part is just to reach out to them, just to see, are they able to help? Are they willing to help? Do they have time? Can they make it a school project? Is there any outstanding students that could do it for extra credit? You never know what opportunities that you have, but if you can get other departments involved with the video part, that would be wonderful. It would help you out. It would give the students or the teams some experience. So reach out, because the worst that they can say is no, but if you can get that lead early, maybe they can build it into their schedule. So if they can, I would start to work on a schedule for completing the video, because what you don't want to happen is you get to, May, end of May, and you're ready to do the video and submit, and, school's almost over and they can't fit you in. So if they can fit you in early, or you can get on their schedule, arrange that. So those would be the 2 steps I would recommend for week 2. Again, those should not take you, more than 10 minutes. Hopefully, it might, depending on how long you talk to your marketing or videography department, but the section of the application is quite small. Week 3. So week 3 involves reaching out to individuals who you want to complete the program endorsement requests. I would pick people, and it gives you some information on the right as to who you can pick and who you can't. I would definitely pick people that are aware of your program, people that you work with. An advisory committee member would be ideal. If you have a school principal or an admin that works very closely, maybe you have a very close relationship with a business that, your students are employed at, whether internships, apprenticeships, or they hire your students at graduation. Maybe there's a vendor that you work very closely with that helps you maintain all your tools and equipment. Those would be the suggestions of who to complete this. We definitely, obviously, friends, family members, students, parents, anybody that's listed under that second part, avoid doing those and focus on the top ones. We definitely are looking for folks, and you would definitely want people that could speak to your program and provide positive information and be able to tell us a little more about it. So once you have identified your people that you are, have met those first requirements, I would approach them and ensure that they understand what they're going to be expected and that they can complete it in a timely manner. What we have found is don't wait, because a lot of times what happens is somebody will email their advisory member, say in May, and that person is very busy and ends up, when they need to finish it in June, they're on vacation for a month. So then they can't get a hold of them. So make sure that they can do it in a timely manner. You can mention that, the sooner that we can get the application in, the better. Maybe don't mention that it's due in June and just, ask them for a quicker date, because then that would give you some flexibility if something does happen. Collect their email and their phone number. You will need that. You might already have it, but in case you don't, gather that information, because when you go to that right-hand side of the screen, you'll see where it says add a new request. So you will click on that button, that add a new request button. It will pop up and ask for their information. You will type it in and hit send, and an email will get generated to the person or persons that you put their information in, and it'll give them a template to fill out. So it'll ask them individual questions, and then they can upload it back to your application. You won't see that what specifically is said. However, you will see in this section, it'll say completed when they are actually done. So you can always check back here if you have any questions and you're not sure if your advisory committee member actually completed it. You can go back here and see that. Say you put someone down here and they say they're going to complete it, but turns out, that it's been, 2 months, you haven't heard from them. You can always go back in and delete their endorsement request and add a new person in there. You can do that to put in a new person and take out the old one. It does say 1 to 2 people. I definitely recommend 2 if you can, just because obviously the more information and the better recommendation that you get will help your application. So this will be section for week 3. To complete that section 2, again, all you need to do is enter the names and hit send, and all the email will be generated to them telling them what to do. Okay, week 4 should be the fun week. So I put the requirements on the top there of what is being requested in the application, the budget. Now, keep in mind this, when I say the word budget, I did add what is being requested in this application. Sometimes people think budget meaning their school budget. That is not what we're asking for. This is actually the fun part of the application when you get to pick what you're looking to ask for. So for those of you, you might know this already if you have applied in the past or seen the application, we do offer 3 categories of awards. We offer $5,000, $10,000, or $25,000 awards. Obviously, a majority of our awards are $5,000. a lesser amount in 10 and 25, but we still do offer those as well. You can apply in either one category, two, or all three. And it just gives you a little bit more information about, the rules on each of the proposed budget. And all of this information that you see on the top there is also in the application. So, if you want to study that or send it to someone, it's all in your application. So week 4 is the fun week. So we recommend that you create a Christmas wish list of ideas. So you saw the top, we just went over that. I'm sure right now you're thinking of, wow, what fun things I could ask for. So definitely recommend the first step here in week 4 is just make that list. Here's all the things that, if I had unlimited budget and unlimited funds and, a windfall of money, here's what I would get. It could be little things, it could be big things, it could be tools and equipment, it could be supplies, consumables. Make that list because that will help you kind of brainstorm what you need. Maybe you need some of those tools from the audit list of tools that you have some outdated or needed. Add those to the list. Get your students involved. Ask your students. We have the opportunity. What would you like to see? It's your program. You're the ones learning. What would you like to see? So get your students involved, and it'll give them a sense of ownership in the grant process. Ask your advisory committee for ideas. Again, if you have, it's week 4, so depending on when you scheduled your meeting, this is why I recommended in week 1 to do your meeting, because then you can always ask your advisory committee for ideas as well. Because maybe they see something in the industry that you are not aware of, a new product, a new technique, something that might help your students that you can incorporate into your application. So ask your advisory committee, for some ideas. So this should be, a fun week to just kind of determine unlimited amount of things and just make a list of all the things that you would be needing for your program. Okay, week 5. So
Hey, Melissa, before you jump
yes,
into week 5,
yes,
there was a
yes.
question about a specific deadline for the survey, given that there's the need to review and approve.
Yeah, no, great question. So we are working out, the survey just opened. So what we're doing now is we are starting to move, some folks have moved over from the process of the survey to the tools and the tools to the benchmark. So we are moving them through the system. Going forward, it will be a quicker move through the process. So as soon as you complete your survey, hopefully, within a short amount of time, you'll get access to the benchmark app. With that said, we're not turning off we're not turning off the survey, obviously, to make sure everybody has a chance to do access to the benchmark. What I would not recommend, obviously, is waiting till, to finish your survey till June. Because that won't give you much time then to do the other 2 parts. So to answer your question, there is no specific deadline per se for the survey, but the sooner you do it, the sooner you can get access to this. Okay. Week 5. So week 5, I did put the amounts again on the top there, and on the bottom on the left-hand side, I did put the categories that we are offering this year. So they are a little different than last year. We have your attraction and recruitment category that is the same as last year, and we do have the wild card, which is also the same as last year. Program enhancements is slightly different. This used to be the program additions and program maintenance. So we combined it into one category of program enhancements. So these are the 3 categories that you can pick from in order to do your application. The reason I put those on the left-hand side is now that we're in week 5, you should have your wish list of everything you could possibly want for the program. You'll want to start to determine what amounts you want to apply for. So looking on the left-hand side, you might say, oh, everything I listed here, I've got a lot of stuff here on the list, so I'm going to do for all 3 categories, or I really just, there's a tiny piece of equipment that I need, and it's less than $5,000, so we're just going to do 5,000. So this will be your chance to start to think about that. Also start to determine what categories it fits in. So you might say, I really need this piece of equipment, so that might be a program enhancement. Or you might be thinking, well, I need this XYZ to help attract students into my program and recruit them in. So in that case, it might be in the attraction recruitment. Or you might have a really cool new idea or new concept or new program, which we love to see and definitely encourage. So that might be a wild card grant. So start to determine, where you think these are going to fit, because you'll need that information. You'll also want to start to narrow down the items. You'll probably have a huge list. So you might want to start to combine, maybe one piece of equipment is more important than another. Maybe you can start to, identify what's number one, number two, and just kind of get it down. Maybe if you got the $5,000 grant, then you would need XYZ, but if you got the 25,000, you need this big piece of equipment. So start to narrow it down into those individual categories. Definitely recommend you apply for all three categories. That is a big tip I can offer. You can do the same items in all three categories, or you can do different. So for example, you could ask for one toolbox full of, all these tools for $5,000. But then if you go into the $10,000, you're going to do two of those toolboxes and all the tools in them. And then if you get the 25,000, you ask for, five of those. You could do that. So it's just, adding additional quantity. Or you could also ask for different things. So if you wanted a large piece of equipment for the 25,000, and a smaller piece of equipment for the five, you could do that as well. So you do have flexibility to do it either way. So that is week 5. Week 6. So now you've narrowed it down. Your next step would be to gather pricing information. So many of you I know already have vendors that you work with, or you have the ability, online to find pricing. Start to do that. You can ask any vendor that you work with for school discount programs. A lot of them do offer that. If you do need help, finding a vendor, or, you're not sure if a specific vendor has a program, CREF is happy to help. We do have a lot of relationships with different vendors. We do know of a lot of different programs. We are working to put together a list of all of those. I'm not sure when it will be available, but a list of all of the discount programs. So you will be able to have some resources and, be able to find those specific programs to get better discounts. The more discounted program you get, obviously, the more you can put on your budget. If you can get a 50% off discount on something, you'll be able to have more room in your budget to add additional items. So week 6, gather pricing information. You can always ask your advisory committee too. Maybe they have a vendor that they work with for some specific thing, and then you can get all that information ready. Week 7. So you should by now have a list of what you are looking for. You should have pricing that you gathered. Now is the time to finalize your budget. So you can see the budget template on the right. This is what it looks like in the application. So you would put your item identification number. As much information as you can provide as possible would be great. Try not to be generic. So, a screwdriver, and that's all you put as $10, you say, and that's all you write. Be as specific as possible. If you're looking for a certain brand, if you're looking for a certain type, put that on the list. If you could put the identification number, that would even be better. Definitely run this by your administration and your advisory committee. Make sure everything looks good, because we want to make sure that they are involved in the process as well. Okay, you should have your tool list then already in with your budget. Your section for week 8 will be to complete the award proposals. So each grant that you're doing, so either in the 5, the 10, or the 25, will have this individual section. It does ask for questions like what you're applying for, what is the goal, how would this award make an impact in your program. The reason is we want you to identify and think about the individual items that you're asking for and how they will help your program. And then what we will do at the end with this information, whatever information you put down in this section, if you were to win the award, when you fill out the impact report at the end, you will verify if this information is correct. So for instance, if you put down that your goal for this grant was to recruit 20 new students into your program, and when you do the impact report, you can actually report back and say, yes, my goal was reached. I did recruit 20 new students into the program. So this is why this section is important. It's setting the expectations. The reason we ask you to tell us on things like the goal of the grant and why would it make an impact is each item that you're asking for is very different. You have recruiting things are very different than tools, and wildcard might be completely different. So we want you to identify the impact and the goals of each thing that you're applying for and tell us. So then when you do the impact part of the report, that you're able to tell us exactly how that met or didn't meet those requirements. So you will do one of these for each different grant level. Again, recommend to do all three, which might take you just a little bit longer, but you'll have the most chance to get an award possible. Week 9. So week 9 is the impact video. And again, by this point, you will have hopefully talked to your team, your videography team, marketing team. Hopefully it's done. If it is not done by now, you still have the opportunity to get it complete. The video section does show here on what the video should accomplish and tips and requirements and such. So this section you can access at any time. And you can, as I showed you at the beginning, you can go see in the original application page, you can download this and send this to your team so they know exactly what to do with the video. But at this point in week 9, we just hopefully you have finished up the video and you can upload it to your application. So simple part of week 9. And week 10. Week 10 is just make sure you complete the terms and conditions page, look anything over that you need, and then you can go ahead and hit the submit button. Okay, so that is really the application process, and I know some of those might take a little bit longer than others, but generally speaking, it should be pretty easy to do the 10 weeks in 10 minutes. Some weeks you might want to combine two of those into one, or you might want to move them around and do, say the video sooner or the video later. Feel free, but that kind of shows you breaking out of the different processes. Some tips for the application process, just from my experience of doing this. The ultimate goal of CREF and the goal of the grant is that everything should support placement. So placement is your North Star. So whether you are, getting a piece of equipment so students can be able to get employed, maybe the area that you live and work, they really look for students that know how to use XYZ tool. Or maybe you, have a fun idea to get the students, more employed in the industry, but everything should be focused on placement. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the whole application, and any way you can tie it to placement, you will definitely help with your application. Don't wait until last minute. A lot of people, again, start it late. The downside is you don't have as much time to do it and you are rushed. End of school gets very hectic. And I know a lot of people say they'll start it once, school is done, but then by the time they get to that part, their advisory committee is on vacation and, they can't get some information from their different departments and marketing's gone, so they can't help with the video. So start it sooner rather than later, even if you do it in these tiny little pieces, that'll definitely help the process. The video itself is judged. I know we talked a bunch about the video, but it is judged by content, not graphics. So if you don't have the ability to have a videography department and you do it on your own, that is completely fine as well. We've had a bunch of videos that have been submitted by just plain walking around with a camera phone or a student holding the phone for the instructor, and those videos have won as well. Those applications have won. So we understand, and the selection committee is definitely understands that Each school has a different ability to do these videos. Some might have that professional department to help and be able to add the, graphics and music and all that. And, another school might not have those resources, and that's completely fine. As long as you met those requirements that we say, and you can explain things like, how will this piece of equipment help with placement or something to that effect, you will be fine. You don't need to make it hugely flashy. We love to see fun videos, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be looked down upon if you just used your own phone or have a student do it for you. Give plenty of notice to your endorsers. Again, I mentioned this because a lot of them do go on break. There's spring break coming up. Things might get busy at their jobs. So make sure to give them plenty of notice so they can do this. And you don't want to have your application held up because without this endorsements, you won't be able to submit. So the last thing you want to happen is everything's done and then suddenly, you're just waiting on the person and they don't get back to you and then you're unable to submit. I mentioned it to apply for all $3 amounts. You have nothing to lose to apply for all three. We do give out a majority of our awards in the $5,000 range. So if anything, that's the one that will give you the most, the most chance of getting an award just by the amount of awards that we get. But definitely, it doesn't hurt to do all three, and it's really just a little bit more in the process. So definitely recommend that. Get support from your advisory committee. So if you do have an advisory committee, get their help in the process, have them help you with the list, with pricing, maybe provide you with support, have them help you with this process because, they are in essence helping, with your program, and they can help you on the outside, people looking in and maybe provide some information that you wouldn't even think about on your own. So get them involved with the process. And likewise, get your students involved in the process. They can help with some of these items, especially with, what they want for the grant. Put a lot on them because in essence, they're the ones that are, going to benefit from this. So if they are part of the whole process, hopefully that they can, show some ownership of whatever items that you do end up getting from the grants. Okay, well, while you guys are thinking of the questions, I just wanted to also mention we do have our scholarship program open now. It is open until March 6th, so definitely encourage your students to apply. This is actually from our website, so that is available now. And we do still have our Art Meets Automotive contest. So, if any of your students are artistic, definitely we would be happy to send them some bowling pins or such that they can paint. These are some samples of one we've done in past SEMAs. But we do, no other questions. Yeah, I would just say from my personal experience of doing this for many years is to not take advantage of it. You have nothing to lose. You have a lot of different, chances to get things. Be creative. We love, like I mentioned, we love to see new projects. So, for instance, we had somebody a couple years ago who started a summer camp. It was a few days summer camp for young kids, middle school age, to get them excited about collision. So they would go to the school for, a few hours over the summer, be able to see what the program was like, make it a little summer camp. So part of the grant application that they asked for was to be able to help support that event. And in essence, we did help them with that event. It grew. They were able to get some new students out of it for their programs. So things like that are really inspiring to see the different things. And we love that they went outside of the box. Tools obviously are important as well. That's why we definitely have those available in there. Great. Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. We will work on getting this recording out to everyone who was able to join and who was not able to join. And we really look forward to getting your application this year. If you have not done the survey, I hope you're inspired and you've seen the process and you'll get that started as soon as possible. If you have done the survey, we're processing all the applications now, so you should get access to your next step shortly, and then you can move on to your tools